Good afternoon. It's Thursday, October 30th. I'm Yumna Naufal. These are today's headlines. Gunmen engaged in deadly battles with the Lebanese army in Tripoli and in Akkad desert their positions and flee the scenes. Waste management tops the agenda of Lebanon's cabinet meeting, which attempts to find a solution to a long-running dispute over who should handle the waste disposal and treatment in Beirut. Clashes erupt between Israeli security forces and Palestinian youth in East Jerusalem after Israel announces the closing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Gunmen who engaged in deadly battles with the Lebanese army in Tripoli and Akkad over the weekend deserted their positions and fled the scene after they realized that they will not be able to stand firm against the army. According to As-Safir daily newspaper, gunmen linked to fugitives Shadi al-Mawlawi and Usama Mansour in Tripoli's At-Tabeni neighborhood decided to leave their position after Mawlawi posted a voice record accusing Muslim scholars of abandoning them. Sources said that gunmen escaped the Sunni neighborhood during a humanitarian truce which was made to evacuate the civilians. The Lebanese army has been carrying out large-scale raids since the weekend in Tripoli and the region of Qura in search for suspects. Some of the gunmen were detained while others fled. Cabinet has declared Tripoli a disaster-struck area following the weekend's clashes in the northern city and has allocated funds to compensate residents who lost their homes in the battle. Another topic of today's meeting was the dispute over who should handle waste management in and around Beirut since the Clean's contract expired in June. Several politicians stressed the urgency of resolving the issue and warning of a garbage crisis if the dispute is not resolved immediately. Finally, the ministers agreed to authorize extra budgetary spending to pay the salaries of civil servants until the end of the year. Finance Minister Ali Hassan Khalil asked ministry employees after the meeting to extend their working hours in order to finalize civil servants' paychecks before the end of the month. Speaker Nabih Berri is scheduled to a legislative session for November 5th to vote on a number of bills, including one that would extend Parliament's mandate by more than 2.5 years. Berri joins the Future movement in calling for the extension, arguing that it would be unconstitutional to form a new government during a presidential vacuum. Future MP Jean-Auguste Sapien commented that there is an implicit agreement among the majority of parliamentary blocs to vote in favor of an extension. And Lebanese Army Commander General Jean Ahwajeh is visiting the troops in North Lebanon as the military is pushing ahead with a widespread hunt for the Islamist militants fleeing after this weekend's clashes in Tripoli. Ahwajeh's tour included the poor city of Tripoli and the northern region of Akkad, both of which have been rocked by fighting between the army and militants. The military reportedly arrested 10 Syrians and 3 Lebanese during the latest raids in the Akkar neighborhood of Al-Drib. The total number of arrests after the army started its crackdown has now topped 200. The Al-Qaeda-linked Nusra Front has accused General Security Chief Major General Abbas Ibrahim of obstructing the release of the abducted soldiers and policemen. According to Hussein Yusuf, the father of one of the abducted soldiers, Muhammad Ibrahim. Now, he rejected the accusation and claimed the Islamist group has refused to hand over their demands to anyone but the Qatari negotiator, whom he says has been delaying the process. Justice Minister Ash-Shafifi sought to reassure the relatives of the captives that negotiations are right on track and that the Qatari mediator, Ahmed Al-Khatib, is headed to Adsail to hold talks with the hostage takers. Environment Minister Mohamed Mashnou is warning against a worsening of Lebanon's already scarce water resources as the drought season expected to increase and rainfall decrease due to climate change. Lebanon is approaching the annual rain season while the country is currently experiencing its worst water crisis in 10 years. Mashnou said the ministry has launched several projects related to climate change, including the implementation of a project to collect rainwater from greenhouse roofs and educating farmers on means of preserving rainwater. At least 60 people have been killed and dozens injured in Syria after a Syrian government helicopter dropped 2 barrel bombs on a camp for internally displaced people in the north of the country. The bombs were dropped on a camp near Al-Habit in the northern province of Idlib, where fighting between rebels and the Syrian regime has forced many to flee their homes. activists say the bombs mostly killed women and children at the camp, charring some bodies beyond recognition. Footage on social media show corpses and burning tents with people trying to save the wounded. Dozens of injured people were also reportedly rushed to a nearby hospital. And the latest on Kobani, while a convoy of Peshmerga fighters from Iraqi Kurdistan arrived in the Turkish border town of Mursit Pinar earlier this morning, and a first group of fighters has, according to activists, already entered Kobani. One group of fighters crossed into Turkey from Iraq yesterday, while the others arrived on Turkish Airlines, landing in the southeastern city of Şanlıurfa under the watchful eye of Turkish security forces. The Syrian city of Kobani has been under siege from the Islamic State for more than a month, with U.S.-led airstrikes failing to end the assault on the Kurdish town. The Kurds and their international allies hope the arrival of the Peshmerga, along with heavier weapons, can finally defeat the extremist group in what has become a highly symbolic battle. Coming up next, Pakistani education activist Malala Yousafzai receives the World Children Prize. Stay with us. For 20 o'clock news here on Future Television. Clashes have erupted between Israeli security forces and Palestinian youth in East Jerusalem after Israel announced the closing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque after a far-right rabbi known as Yehuda Glick was shot and seriously wounded yesterday. Now, the rabbi was known for his lobbying to secure prayer rights for Jewish worshippers at the mosque. The Palestinian man accused of being responsible for the shooting was later killed by Israeli police. The closing of the mosque has prompted strong reactions from the Palestinian Authority, with President Mahmoud Abbas calling the move a declaration of war. Jerusalem has seen an escalation of clashes between Palestinian protesters and the Israeli police over the past month, with tensions further heightened by plans to expand Jewish settlements in occupied East Jerusalem. The UN, of course, condemned the plans, with Undersecretary General for Political Affairs Jeffrey Feltman saying it raises serious doubts about the Israeli commitment to peace.
The reality is that continued settlement activity in occupied Palestinian territory is doing significant damage to any possibility of a lasting peace between the two sides and is moving the situation ever closer to a one-state reality. Activities and all of the provocations and incitement. We have heard that some members of this council have started again discussing the possibility of adopting a new resolution on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. For our part, we wonder if the current paradigm, almost 50 years into the conflict, does not require revisiting our engagement thus far, consistent with the decisions of this Security Council and the relentless efforts of the international community. Palestinian and Israeli leaders and people should make no mistake. There will never be a substitute to their own responsibility in bringing the necessary change and achieving peace.
If we cannot collectively convince the occupying power to negotiate with us the end of occupation, to allow for the independence of the State of Palestine, and therefore to actualize the global consensus on a two-state solution, then the option of two-state solution might not be available to us, and there is no one to be blamed except the occupying power for not responding in a responsible, positive way to negotiate with us in good faith the end of occupation.
Makarim Wibisono, the United Nations Special Rapporteur on Human Rights in the Palestinian territories, is warning of an emerging humanitarian crisis in Gaza, stressing the importance of reconstruction and recovery after this summer's devastating bombing of the small Palestinian enclave. He urged immediate humanitarian action as winter is approaching.
I met with some of the victims and witnesses to events in the occupied Palestinian territory. I was touched by their story and impressed with the fundamental and urgent need to improve respect for the human rights of Palestinians. Tens of thousands of children continue to live with injuries and psychological trauma of having witnessed horrific killings of family members, friends, and neighbors before their own eyes. After the devastation of the summer, now, as the winter fast approaches, I cannot stress enough the importance of accelerating humanitarian relief and reconstruction effort in Gaza to rebuild school, home, and hospitals. Gaza needs to quickly see and feel the impact of reconstruction and recovery. During my mission, I heard three demands again and again: accountability, an end to the blockade, and an end to the occupation. I'm deeply disappointed that the government of Israel has yet to allow me access to Israel and the occupied Palestinian territory. But I will continue to seek both dialogue and unhindered access to the occupied Palestinian territory.
Yemen's Houthi rebels have captured a key city linking the capital to the south as they continue to push for more control in the country. The Shia militants captured the city of Redma, a city in the Aib province, and known to be the stronghold of the Muslim Brotherhood-linked Islah Party after prolonged fighting with local Sunni tribesmen. Redma's placement along the highway linking to the capital Sana'a to the southern port of Aden makes it a key strategic city. The Houthis now control almost all of the Ib province, with the exception of Wudain, which is the lands of Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula and allied Sunni tribesmen. Tunisia's leading secular party, Nidat Tunis, has emerged the winner of Sunday's election with 85 seats in the now 217-member parliament, according to results released by electoral authorities this morning. Islamist party Ennahda secured 69. Ennahda is the first Islamist movement to secure power after the Arab Spring revolts conceded defeat in the second free election since dictator Ben Ali's autocratic rule ended. While now the largest party, Nidat Tunis, fell short of a majority and will need coalition partners to form a government. However, their numbers will enable them to ally themselves with smaller and more ideologically close parties, placing Ennahda in an opposition role for the next 4 years. Egypt has started to evict Sinai citizens living close to the border with the Gaza Strip, aiming to create the buffer zone after the country experienced some of the worst anti-state violence since the ousting of President Morsi last year. Bulldozers have begun destroying abandoned houses along the frontier as the state pushes ahead with its plan to create a 500-meter deep buffer zone. The around 10,000 residents were told they had 48 hours to leave the area, as the state plans to destroy around 800. Pakistani education activist Malala Yousafzai has received the World Children Prize less than a month after becoming the world's youngest Nobel Peace Prize winner. Almost 2 million school children voted in the 2014 World Children Prize, which is the world's largest annual rights-based education program. Malala said the $50,000 prize money will be donated to the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine refugees to rebuild schools in Gaza.
I'm feeling really happy that this time children have selected a child to win this prize. It's for the first time, so it's amazing that now children are believing that children need to take a step and to go forward and to fight for their rights. It's no more the time that we should wait for someone else to come and speak for us, or it's no more the time that we should ask other people to come and to fight for our rights. This money will totally go to the rebuilding of schools for children in Gaza. So I think it will definitely help those children to continue their education, to get quality education, and it will help them to continue their life and to know that people are supporting them and they are not alone. And I'm really happy that this funding will help in the rebuilding of 65 schools in Gaza. And if we want to bring change, then we should be that change. So let's stand up together, let's fight for our rights, and let's make sure that every child gets quality education. And by the end, I would repeat that one book, one pen, one child, and one teacher can change the world. Thank you so much.
This marks the end of our bulletin for today. Now for a reminder of our top stories. Gunmen engaged in deadly battles with the Lebanese army in city of Tripoli and Akkad desert their positions and flee the scenes. Waste management tops the agenda of Lebanon's cabinet meeting, which attempts to find a solution to a long-running dispute over who will take care of the disposal and treatment in Beirut. And clashes erupt between Israeli security forces and Palestinian youth in East Jerusalem after Israel announces the closing of the Al-Aqsa Mosque after a rabbi was shot yesterday. Those are your Thursday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Naufal. Have a good one.